This is Canada, the true north, strong and free, and home to this iconic flag. And it should be no surprise to you that each and every province has a flag, as well as a decent amount of cities and towns throughout the country. That means Canada has a lot of flags. What you might not be as certain about is that there's actually rules about proper flag etiquette, such as how to design a flag and not to. We'll go into that in just a second. So what we're going to do in this series is we're going to look at flags across Canada from east to west. And to make it more digestible, we decided to split it up into 3 different categories: Eastern Canada, Central Canada, and Western Canada. Sure, that's not true geographical splicing in any way, but it's how we chose to do it, so each episode can be about the same length. It also allows for each geographical region to have the optimal amount of airtime. Now back to that proper flag etiquette. Here's a little rundown of how flags should be made, according to the North American Vexillological Association. Number 1. Keep it simple. A flag should be so simple that a child can draw it from memory. Number 2. Use meaningful symbolism. A flag's images, colors, or patterns should relate to what it symbolizes. Number 3. Use 2 or 3 basic colors to limit the number of colors on the flag. 4. No lettering or seals. Never use any type of writing or any kind of organizational seal on a flag. And number 5. Be distinctive or be related. Avoid duplications of other flags, but use similarities to show connections if warranted. So with that in mind, let's check out flags of Canadian cities. Welcome to the small fishing hamlet of Fortune in Newfoundland and Labrador. Located along the western side of the Burin Peninsula, Fortune was named after the Portuguese word fortuna, meaning harbor of good fortune, which is greatly appreciated since this is an ocean fishery town. They capture all types of seafood, but the main ones are haddock, cod, and flounder. This town is also unique because it has a ferry that takes you on an hour-long ferry ride to what is technically France. The ferry drops you off in the town of Saint Pierre on these collective islands known as Saint Pierre and Miquelon. Oh, hold on, we're going off on a tangent. You're here to see the flag of Fortune, so let's go back to Fortune in Canada. And here's their flag. Front and center we have a fish sitting on top of a white cross over a blue background. The cross also creates 4 quadrants, which in each quadrant there is 1 yellow circle. Sadly, there isn't much literature of what this flag means, but I think we can make a pretty good guess at the meanings behind this flag. In Newfoundland and Labrador, it's very common for fishermen to say fish when they really mean cod. All other types of fish are called a type of fish, like haddock or salmon. So it is likely that this fish in the center of the flag is actually a cod, one of, if not the main catch, of fishing fleets in Fortune. The white cross in the background is similar to some flags in Europe that we see, such as England. Many Nordic countries as well have the cross, and in all cases the cross is for Christianity, namely the faith that the settlers brought to Fortune and grew with. The blue background is most likely for the ocean, where the majority of the people in town get their livelihood from. And I know this next one is wrong, but I like to pretend that each quadrant represents a different season, and the yellow is for the sun that the fishermen are hoping for. But in reality, those yellow circles are supposedly bezants, which was a common term in the Middle Ages by Europeans, especially for golden coins from the Middle East. Bezants can also be seen on European heraldry all throughout Europe, even in the Americas. And that's all we have. I think that was a pretty good overview for Fortune's flag, and overall, a very nice looking flag. And if this wasn't a fishing town, you could remove that fish, and dang would that flag be looking fly. We head to the Labrador portion of Newfoundland and Labrador to the town of Wabush. This small, tight-knit community of under 2,000 people is purely reliant on the mining industry that surrounds the town, and their flag reflects that. A flag which I might add is very hard to find information for, but thankfully the good people of Wabush didn't let me down. I reached out to the city and a contact from within the city government was able to give me the information I need to continue this video. Thank you very much for the quick response, you guys. This might be the only place on the internet that has information on the flag of Wabush. So what does it all mean? Well, get ready for the world premiere of what the Wabash flag means. Right in the center we have 3 interlocking golden rings. Those 3 rings represent unity between the 3 major companies in the area that employ pretty much everyone in Wabash and nearby Labrador, the city. Each ring represented a company that was vital to the founding of Wabash. The rings represented these 3 companies: the Wabash Iron Company, Dominion Foundries and Steel, and the Steel Company of Canada. The names might not be the same as they are today because of various corporate dealings, companies merging, changing hands, etc. Those rings are placed on a red triangle which represents the land that Wabash is on. Triangle. While the blue zigzags represent the power of Churchill Falls, located kind of nearby. Churchill Falls is important to Wabash, as well as the entire province. The power harnessed at the falls powers all the mining operations in Wabash. As well, the falls garners a huge sense of pride in every Labradorian. Is that a real word?
Cut!
Most of the power generated at the falls is actually sold to Quebec, and that brings up a lot of heated contention. So we're not going to go and talk about that. We're going to stick back to the flag and talk about the very last aspect of the flag's design. It has a white background. Okay, so that's the entire flag of Wabash. A flag with maybe shockingly so a lot of meaning to it, and a place you should go visit and support. Because again, thanks to the great people in Wabash, we're able to share their flag and its meaning to the world. Welcome to the historic capital city of Prince Edward Island, named after Queen Charlotte herself, the wife of Britain's King George III. The city of Charlottetown. Up until about the 1990s, this was the flag of Charlottetown, this gray mass, with a city seal in the center. A flag so devoid of color it makes Charlottetown look like a snooze fest. And what even is this? A burning bush? It's supposed to be a plow with a piece of wheat above it. I don't know what the red stuff is, and it's on top of a hill, overlooking the ocean with a ship in the background. But who cares, that flag's in the garbage now. And instead, heraldry expert Robert Watt created the new flag. Using his love of heraldry helped him create this new flag. For example, he used the themes and colors of the Charlottetown coat of arms as inspiration when designing this flag. Right in the center we have a representation of Queen Charlotte's crown, the one she wore at her coronation. The crown also represents Charlottetown being the county seat of Queens County. Not to mention, the crown also underlines the city's importance as the provincial capital and an important landmark in the Canadian Federation. Behind the crown in the very center is a large green rectangle, with 4 smaller rectangles on the outside. The green rectangle with the crown on it is Queen's Square, which is where the provincial capital is. The 4 smaller surrounding rectangles are also parks, squares within the city of importance, which is how we get the center design of the flag. And the green and white pattern on the outside edges emulates the provincial flag of Prince Edward Island, which is this. While truthfully it's not my favorite flag, I do like the center part and what it means. I'd probably get rid of the pattern on the outside edge, but I also realize that it has a connection to the provincial flag, and that's kind of a cool little tie-in between the two. I guess overall the best thing here is they got rid of the old flag. We leave Queens County and head on over to Kings County to the little town of Montague. The little town saw Charlottetown get a flag, so they wanted a flag too, and they applied for one via the Canadian Heraldic Authority, a group owned by the Canadian government that designs and creates coats of arms and flags and approves stuff. And they made Montague a new flag, but not just anyone. Again, the flag was created by Robert Watt, the guy who made the flag in Charlottetown, and I must say, this one's not nearly as pretty. So here's the new flag of Montague. Alright, so right off the bat, we can see it has the same pattern motif as seen on the Charlottetown flag, as well as the provincial flag for Prince Edward Island. Pretty much keeping them all in the family. But let's take a deeper dive into the Montague flag. In front and center, we got a stone bridge with blue in the middle, separating 2 green outer edges with clip art thrown on top. The blue on the flag is the Montague River, which splits the town of Montague in half, as seen on a real-life map. As well as on the flag, the blue splits into 3 separate sections for the 3 separate rivers that flow into Cardigan Bay: Montague, Cardigan, and Brudenell. The white separating the blue from the green has no meaning, but it's probably the shoreline, while the green represents the land. And the stone bridge on the flag is the bridge that ties Montague together as it spans the Montague River. And no, unlike the flag, the real bridge is not a stone arch bridge, nor has it ever been. The bridge is gold on the flag to symbolize the commerce and trade that crosses over the top. As well, the two arches are the outline of an M, referencing Montague, the town's name. Lastly, the clip art on top, we have two plows which represent agriculture on both sides of the river, and how important they are to the town. While in the center in the river, we have a fish that tells the viewer how important fish was to the town's early economy as well as today for recreation. So there you have it, a flag for the town of Montague. A town flag with a lot of meaning, but let's be honest, a flag that'll never be as beautiful as the town itself. We next head to Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, aka the Main Street of the South Shore. It's a regional hub for commercial shopping, which explains why there's this very ugly strip mall that takes up a large chunk of the waterfront. I bet they wish they could go back and plan that better. Speaking of maybe wanting to plan things better, here is the flag of Bridgewater. Whoa, what is this? It looks like somebody had fun with their Photoshop application. It honestly looks like someone started with a Canadian flag, slapped on some blue diagonal bars, colored in the background white, and then slapped a city seal on it, and then called it a day. And maybe that's all they did. So let's find out what this historic little town's flag means. Hey look, there's the mall on the other side of the river. The flag makes use of its significant landmark, the town bridge. It was the first bridge to cross the LaHave River, and the town actually got its name because of this bridge. Well, not that particular bridge, but the one that came before it. That is why it's called Old Bridge Street. Supposedly the bridge is on the flag. You see, the red trapezoids are supposed to signify the bridge over the river. The blue bars are the river. Not really seeing it unless you're looking down on the bridge like an aerial view. Maybe. But what I do see is that those blue diagonal bars are actually to tie it in with the provincial flag of Nova Scotia. So the blue diagonal bars on the flag have two meanings: water and the flag of Nova Scotia. The red maple leaf is for patriotism to Canada from the Canadian flag, while in the center of that maple leaf is the town seal, which depicts the town bridge and the town. It also tells us when the town was incorporated. The flag was designed by John and Judith Scott, a husband and wife team, and was adopted as the town flag in 1993. There are aspects of the flag I do like, but too much of it is too jumbled. And the seal in the center of the flag really needs to go, especially since their town logo is so much better. The flag is like a representation of the town, though. You got the good and bad. You got the ugly shopping center on the waterfront on one side of the river, and you got the cute, quaint little downtown with the beautiful park on the other side. Halifax, one of Atlantic Canada's economic centers, as well as the capital of Nova Scotia. A city known for its military tradition, as well as its maritime heritage. A city whose flag reflects on its past and represents its communities that helped create it. There's no way getting around it. Halifax has a beautiful flag. This flag was approved in 1999, and it was made by none other than our friend Robert D. Watt. Remember him? He made the Charlottetown and Montague flags up in Prince Edward Island? Yeah, that's the guy. We better jump into it because this flag has a lot of stuff. Right in the center we have a cute little bird known as a kingfisher. The kingfisher is a symbol used since the 1860s in the Halifax regional government, and so it's carried over to this flag for historical reasons. The bird is lovingly placed atop a St. Andrew's cross, which celebrates the Scottish heritage that helped form the city of Halifax. As well, the cross is very similar and recalls to the provincial flag of Nova Scotia. There's a circle in the center of this cross symbolizing Halifax's capital status for the province. You'll also notice 4 arrows pointing in 4 different directions. This symbolizes the region's naval tradition, as well as indicating all the connections it has around the world. Halifax is still home to many Canadian military and naval institutions, as well as having the port of Halifax. But if you want to learn about seaports, you check out this other video right here on our channel. Top 10 biggest seaports in Canada. See, this channel's got you covered. Got your back, Canada. Mwah! On the 2 outside edges we see sailing ships, which again refer to the naval tradition of Halifax, as well as the early settlers who came here. The blue on the flag represents the water that the city is built around. And the goldish yellow has no meaning, but you could say it means trade and commerce. It's also on their heraldry. and because the blue and gold looks good. And one more little tidbit about the flag. Upon its creation in 1999, the public was not allowed to actually buy this flag. The city government said it was only restricted to them, and only they could fly the flag of Halifax. What a way to stir up civic pride, am I right? Thankfully, an amendment in 2010 allowed people to buy the flag, but still on a restricted basis. Jeez, talk about not wanting to share. But hey, at least Haligonians now have an opportunity to fly this really cool flag. Our next town is in the New Brunswick Panhandle, and right across the river from Maine, and right next to Quebec, which might explain why over 90% of the population here speaks French. And the place I'm talking about is Edmundston, New Brunswick, a city that almost became the US, but ended up becoming Canadian, and for a very short time was its own independent country called Madawaska. The Republic of Madawaska. It's a crazy story that involves an American timber tycoon who was able to convince people on both sides of the St. John River to form their own country. You see, this man, John Baker, he had a timber empire and was expanding everywhere, and he expected this area he was building in was in the United States. New Brunswick claimed it as their land, and Maine claimed it as theirs. Anyways, when an official border was established by the Treaty of Paris in 1783, his timber plants were partially on the Canadian side, and this made him very unhappy. So, he created the Republic of Madawaska, and the people in town were like, okay. At the time, the mostly French Canadians living in Edmundston didn't really want to be a part of British Canada, nor did they really care if they were part of the US or not. So they were fine with starting their own republic. They even had their own flag. Of course, the United States and Canada didn't recognize this, which leads us to today, and Edmundston's current flag. I tried reaching out to the city as an avid historian, doing a research project on North American city flags, but apparently they wanted nothing to do with people who were actually interested in their city or their history, because they didn't respond to any of my emails. Nobody even answered the phone. So we're gonna take some educated guesses based off their coat of arms, their city history. Just realize that everything I'm about to say has a giant asterisk because we don't actually know what the flag means, but we can give our best educated guess. So with that aside, let's begin. I believe the green on the flag represents the forests, the timber industry that founded and created the city of Edmundston. Without the forests, it wouldn't be here. The forestry-related industry around the city that still run to this very day are evidence to how important they are for this place being on the map. The yellow/gold might stand for the wealth or the capital, the commerce, the trade created from these industries. And I would be shocked to find out that the blue doesn't stand for water. The St. John River, the Madawaska River, those were vital for getting lumber and timber down to the plants to be chopped up and done whatever they do with. They were the early highways before the highways even existed. No idea what the white background means, but I believe that those three symbols together in the center of the flag show how all of those are connected and unite as one to create the city of Edmundston. The colorful bars on the bottom and the side, I guess mean the same thing, I'm not sure. Blue, water flat on the bottom like a river. The green is standing upright like a tree. The yellow maybe stands for commerce and trade, wealth that came from the trees. Again, asterisk on all of this. Hopefully it's somewhat right, and maybe eventually someday someone will be able to get a hold of someone in the city of Edmundston to answer these questions. That said, I don't mind the flag. I think it's alright, it's simple, nice colors, but for some reason I can't help but feel it seems a little bit dated, even though it's not. This flag came out sometime between 2000 and 2005, and they had a different flag before this. Other than that, there is no information on this flag. Don't even know who made it or why. I bring all this up because we have more history on the Republic of Madawaska than we do a current-day flag. Located just southeast of Fredericton is the town of Oromocto, located on the banks of the St. John River and the mouth of the Oromocto River. It's known for being the site of the Canadian Forces Base Gagetown, one of Canada's larger military training bases. In the 1950s, Oromocto was designed to be a Canadian model city. It was the forefront of Canada's efforts to make the perfect community, the very best in urbanism from Canada at the time. Clearly this style planning hasn't aged very well. Nowadays it would be considered too car-centric, too many parking lots. Well, I can't say much about the layout and how it looks from above. I can say their flag is definitely not a model flag. Let's discuss the meaning of the Oromocto flag. Oh, look, they don't even fly it at City Hall. Starting at the very top, we have a wavy blue area with a canoe. That represents the Oromocto and the St. John rivers, as well as the Oromocto people who originally lived here. The porcupine represents the French and their armories that they created to protect their local colonists in the area, while the stone fortress in the center represents historic forts, as well as the current-day Canadian Forces Base, Gagetown. The bottom of the flag has a red face, which I thought was the devil, but it's actually a leopard. The leopard represents the arrival of English colonists to the banks of the St. John River. Are they trying to say the English are predators and the French are pointy porcupine people? While the town might be a fine place to live, I can't say their flag holds up all that well. Some questionable meaning, not such a good design. This flag is a hard pass. We now head to the city of Laval, which is the third largest city in Quebec, and a suburb to Montreal. And looking at Laval's flag, it's like going back to the 1970s. Groovy. But to the North American Vexillological Society, this flag's kinda funky, and not in a good way. It's a bummer. While the colors might have been fine at the time, they don't hold up today. But the biggest sin is having the town's name on the flag. No words on the flag. Also, that stylized L kind of looks like the bricks or stairs from the game Q*bert. And believe it or not, this flag has meaning, be it extremely obscure meaning, such as how is anybody supposed to know that the blue on the flag symbolizes quality of life and the development of a human city, or that the purple symbolizes wealth and great economic potential for the city. I'm not sure how anybody would know any of this by looking at the flag, but I guess the 70s were different. The blocks are shaped as the letter L, which was used as an emblem and a logo for the city as well. The L also rises up like a skyscraper to show prosperity and economic development in the city. Then of course we have the very typical 70s style font for the city's name and the off-white background, which has no meaning. The flag was created in the mid-1970s, which explains its entire look. The flag certainly isn't pretty, but it is kind of a time capsule of the past. I'm sure at the time it seemed really groovy. I also went to check to see if there was any plans to change this flag, and it does not appear there is, though I did find this post on a web forum where everyone just made fun of the flag. Now let's blow this joint and boogie woogie out of here. And for the last flag today, we'll end on a good note, with the flag of Quebec City. By far, one of the most important cities to Canada's entire history. A city that started Canada's trade on an international scale, and has probably one of the most well-known city flags in all of Canada. Here it is. We have a very simple flag with a white border, blue field in the background, and a ship in the center. The white border is crenellations like you'd see on a castle, or the walls of Quebec City. Yeah, that's right. Crenellations, castle talk, which I learned from the University of Vexillology from a very specific professor. Okay? Does anybody know what matriculations are? Well, there might not be any in Quebec City. Well, there kind of are. They'd be an opening on the floor or the side of a wall or maybe in a gatehouse where they were able to throw stuff down at the attackers. It would allow the defending army to slow down the attackers. In short, Quebec City's got some awesome fortification walls around the city that can still be seen today, and are represented on this flag. The white also stands for purity, truth, charity, humility, and victory, while the blue stands for loyalty, sovereignty, knowledge, and serenity. It's a dominant color on the city's coat of arms, and represents the foundation of its French origins. As well, the sailing ship signifies the origins of the city. It's a reminder of the city's founder, Samuel de Champlain, and his ship, the Gift from God, which helped him sail the St. Lawrence to found Quebec for New France on July 3rd, 1608. As well, the ship signifies Quebec being a major seaport for Canada, which can also be learned about in a very particular video that's on this channel. And if you look closely at the sails and the flags on the ship, the wind is blowing outward to signalize bravery and the growth of population in Quebec City. And I love whoever designed the flag put Samuel de Champlain on the back right there. That little dude's him. The ship being yellow is supposed to represent strength, justice, consistency, wealth, faith, and luster. And thank goodness they adopted this flag in 1987, because prior to this, the flag was created in 1967 and looked like this. A Quebec flag with a white background and the coat of arms on the lower right. Boring. It was even more lame than the flag of Montreal, but that's a story for another time. And instead we get to enjoy Quebec City's very handsome flag. And there you have it. 2 flags from each province in what we call Eastern Canada. And in making this video, it became super apparent how hard it was to actually find information on Canadian city flags, as well as getting imagery of them. So thanks to all the cities who contacted us back and were able to answer questions for us. And remember to stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. We're heading from the east to the west of Canada, and in the next episode we'll be in central Canada. So be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. You can even check out our Patreon, as well as all of our other videos. Have I mentioned this video yet? Anyways, see you in the next one, and remember, fly your flag high.